Okay, this is something a bit new. We're going to do tarantula myths and misconceptions. We're going to start this one off with the giants. What I'm going to try to do is every once in a while put together some of the major myths and misconceptions we have about tarantulas, kind of group them together under one category that kind of makes them all fit together, and then kind of dispel some of those myths, or in some cases just explain them a little more. So here we go. So let's start off with bird eaters are actually giant tarantulas that eat birds. I get this one quite a bit from folks who aren't very familiar with tarantulas and they believe that they actually devour birds. Now, again, we'll get into where this might happen. Here is one of the what we most hobbyists would consider the true bird eaters, Atherophosis sturmi. The blondie and apophysis are also two other bird-eating species. They're called that because they're generally the biggest tarantulas that you can find. They're the heaviest spiders in the world. They get very, very large. Here's a Lasiodora parahybana, or a salmon bird eater, another species that has the moniker bird eater. Again, these guys are supposedly able to get very, very large. So where does the term bird eater come from? Where is it applied? Well, I can tell you where it's applied. It's usually large terrestrial tarantulas. A lot of them are from South America. They don't have to be, but anything over 6 inches could be one. However, here we have an Avicularia metallica, and this would actually be what should be considered a true bird eater. Fact of the matter is, if any tarantula is going to be eating birds, it's more likely to be a boreal species like Avicularia or Poecilotheria, species that are up in the air, in trees, higher up where they might encounter birds, not a slower ground-dwelling terrestrial. So where did the term bird eater come from? Well, this famous illustration right here from naturalist Maria Sibylla Marian. It was done in 1705, and here she depicted some spiders she saw. Notice the one eating the bird over in the corner. And if we look a little bit closer at this image over here, at the ends of the feet, look what we have there, little pink toes. This is an Avicularia species. So this was the species that she originally named bird eater. She brought these lurid drawings back, beautiful drawings, quite frankly, and people saw them and went, oh my God, there's these giant tarantulas, these giant spiders that eat birds. Probably saw it happen here. It probably happens in the wild, but not that often. The fact is, there are likely many birds that end up becoming meals for some of the arboreal tarantulas. But the question remains, how did we go from calling this a bird eater to calling something like this a bird eater? The only thing I can think of is that it's much more lurid to describe a spider eating a bird because most people like birds. They don't care so much about insects or small rodents. But the idea of a spider that can actually pluck a bird from the sky and devour it, that's some scary stuff. And unfortunately, our hobby's surrounded by a lot of scary myths meant to kind of freak people out as opposed to let them see how beautiful these animals can be. Talking about the giants, let's get on to this next one. Your tarantula will reach 10 inches, 12 inches, 14 inches, fill in your large dimensions anywhere. Now, let's call it as it is. There are some tarantulas out there that can get very big, 10 to 11 inches even. The largest tarantula ever recorded was a Theraphosa blondie that was 11 inches. Unfortunately, a lot of folks will try to tell you that other species get this large as well. And some of the ones mentioned would be obviously Theraphosa Formictopus species are often said to get very large, Pamphobedius, and Lasiodora. Why do people say this? Well, in some cases, I think it's just mismeasurement. It's kind of like when people catch fish and they brag about the size of the fish until they measure it and realize it's much smaller. Some cases, I think it's because they're trying to sell people on sensationalism. So let's go into the Lasiodora parahybana, or salmon bird eater. It's my favorite example of this. This species is often sold as being an alternative to the Goliath bird eater because it supposedly can get to be 10 or 12 inches. Reality is they don't normally get that large. Now, caveat, I do believe there probably have been some 10-inch specimens out there, but for years I've been saying that they don't normally get this large and begging somebody to send me photo proof or video proof of their 10-inch spider. To date, I've had at least a dozen people come forward and tell me they have a super large one, and I've had one person send me a video of a molt that was about 9 inches, so I've got to assume that one's probably close to 10, but that's about it. A lot of dealers will sell people these spiders because they know they're not ready for Theraphosa species, and they will basically say this one's a good alternative because, hey, it's going to get to be 12 inches anyway, it'll be just as big. Not true. You can expect your LP to probably reach 8 inches, maybe even 9, but 10's kind of out there, although many Theraphosa species will hit that 9-10 inch mark. A couple of the other species we mentioned, Phormictopus species, Pamphobeteus, also get quite large, with some of them tapping out at 8 inches, maybe even creeping up to 9, but rarely do they hit that magical 1 foot mark. And it's important to note, though, if you've seen some of these species in person, 8 inches is a huge spider. 9 inches is an enormous spider, so don't be turned off to these species because they don't get to be the size of the quote-unquote dinner plate. They're still very large species. But do be aware that if you're buying spiders expecting to someday have that legendary 10-inch to 12-inch spider, it's probably not going to happen. However, for those that want a shot at actually maybe achieving that legendary 1 foot mark, then the Theraphosa species are the way to go. Either Theraphosa blondie, Sturmey, or Apophysis would be the tarantulas you want to get, as the majority of them can hit 9 inches easily, 10 inches not without too much effort, and 11 inches is definitely attainable. Maybe you'll get that extra special species that'll actually hit a foot, and if so, I want to see video and pictures immediately. Well, that's it for this one. I'm sure I'm going to get some responses from people who have giant tarantulas, and again, I really do hope to get some actual images and proof of it. I'm sure they're out there. I really do believe it, but I want to see it for myself. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Again, if you're new to my channel, please, if you like what you see, check out some more videos, maybe even subscribe. I'm going to put a couple other videos here that might interest you, and thanks for taking the time to watch.